Welcome to My Time to Shine. I'm your host, Emily. Hello. Hi.
Hey,
Hi, Emma. Welcome to the podcast.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling a little bit nervous being my first podcast, but yeah, no, I feel really good. Thank you.
Oh, I'm honoured that this is your first podcast. This is a special moment.
Yes, yeah, it really is.
Celebratory dance. Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh
Could you
yeah.
start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are and what your background is?
Okay, so I'm Emma and I'm a wedding photographer. I'm also a videographer as well with my husband's business. I also have just trained in NLP, so I'm a qualified NLP practitioner, and I'm in the middle of setting up my mindset business. I have two children. Um, yeah, we also have quite a lot of plans for the wedding area as well. So there's quite a lot going on. So yeah, two children as well. Um, we have a nice home, which obviously trying to do that as well, like trying to keep on top of like keeping it clean and things like that. Um, so yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's happening. So yeah, a bit more about me is I'm really into personal development. I the background, I came from a council estate. I had a mum that wasn't in control of her emotions, so my upbringing was quite challenging. I think I was 21 when I had my first ever like breakdown in life, and I decided to seek help. And I went to the doctors, and they wanted to put me on medication. And I noticed so many people around me were already on medication and they were still quite miserable or it wasn't working and things like that. So I was just like, something in me was quite curious. And I was like, okay, so I don't want to go on medication. I want to find out what is going on. And yeah, and then my journey kind of started there really with like having counseling and stuff. So I did that for about 10 years on and off. And then when I had my daughter, so she's 7. That's when I got into personal development. It actually started when I was pregnant with her because I signed up to a hypnobirthing course,
Okay.
and yeah, I signed up for that. And when I had a really, really powerful, good experience with her birth, I realized you can actually train your mind like through hypno. So I ended up looking for a hypno course to train my mind because I was noticing with counseling, I just kept getting better and then I'd go backwards. And I
Yeah.
was like, something's not right here. It like, am I meant to be this way forever? Or yeah, I just got curious. So I ended up spending £5,000 on a course. It was an American course because there wasn't much in the UK at the time. And I didn't have any support with that. Like, I knew I wanted to do it, but I had my husband saying no. I had my dad saying no because I didn't have the money at the time. So I ended up begging for the money, and I said, "Look, if I do this course, I'm gonna promise to myself that I will transform, and I'm gonna prove to you all that I'm gonna do it." And my dad, luckily, he lent me some money. So yeah, that was my personal development journey. That's where it started. And I've never looked back. Like, I'm literally on this amazing journey where I'm just keep growing, keep pushing myself. And all of those problems that I had, like the healing that I've done over the years, is incredible. And yeah, it just like I'm proving to myself that it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what you've been through, you can create the life that you want and you can change. And yeah, I feel like I've waffled on there a bit.
No, I think that's given us a really interesting insight to you as a person because on the outside, on your Instagram, it's beautiful. You have, you're an incredibly talented photographer and your photos on your page are absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
And it gives people an insight to all this background and all this background work that you've done to become this incredible inspirational woman now. Can we rewind and go back to your childhood and like, what was that like growing up on a council estate?
So I think from memory, well, it's different. My stories are very different now because growing up, I had a lot of negativity towards my family and my mum. I blamed her for so much. I was scared of her growing up, like all of those things. And it's only recently, when I did one of the Tony Robbins live events. Um, sorry, not live. It wasn't the live one. It was Date with Destiny. That was it. Back in December, he does this powerful exercise where he gets you to go back to those painful places in your childhood, and literally, it you basically like rewire your brain and change your story.
Wow.
And so my story now is it just seems like I know that my mum and dad did the best they could. They absolutely loved me, and yes, it was challenging. Um, but if it wasn't for those moments and all of those things that happened to me in my life, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Because I had a similar upbringing on a council estate,
Yeah.
and you can be angry about it. And I was for a while, especially as a teenager, I was very angry and
Mm.
caught up in that emotion for quite a long time and
Yeah.
stuck in a cycle of blame. And one day it just hit me like, oh, my parents were just trying their best with what they had.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do at any given time is try your best with the resources, the knowledge that you have at that circumstance.
Mm.
And you can learn from that. So for me, from my perspective, reflecting back, I can learn from the things that I felt I was lacking as a child or I felt could be done differently and take that forward into being, a mother myself. Do
Yeah.
you feel like you've kind of done that, with your children?
100%. I thank my mum so much because she showed me what it was like to not be in control of your emotions and the damage it can have on your children. And so for me, like bringing up my children, um, it's completely different. I've gone down that opposite route. So I'm very much a now, some people call it gentle parenting. I call it positive parenting. So I did a lot of research into that. I brought courses. I learned all of that when my daughter was little, because there was a point after having my daughter where I I was so fearful of becoming my mum.
Okay.
And so this is before I did the personal development stuff. And yeah, when she was small, I felt like I was losing control of my emotions at times. And it got to the point where I was just like, enough's enough. Like, this is where I get to choose. I don't have to follow in the way I've been brought up. Like, I can choose a completely different life. I can choose all of that. So it's to be honest, it sounds weird. Like, I'm just in that place where I just feel so grateful for all the shit that I've ever been through. Like, I just feel at peace. It's lovely. So, but it does take a long time to get there.
Yeah, what a turnaround as well, because it's so easy to stay stuck in that cycle of
Yeah.
hatred, but the only person who's suffering is yourself at the end of the day, hating on the people who raised you, even if it was tricky and very challenging, which a lot of people do have childhood trauma. It doesn't serve anybody, it doesn't serve you to look back. You're just being bitter and holding everything against yourself
Mm,
basically. But to be able to turn that around and come back and be like, I'm thankful for all of that
yeah.
shit that I went through because it's made me who I am.
Mm,
How have you reached that point? That's really big.
yeah, it's massive. How I reached that point. I think it first started when, so obviously for me, I really love personal development. I think it is the biggest shift. Like, counseling is fantastic as well. Like, I feel like if you do have issues, counseling is your first step. Like, to kind of just try and understand maybe why you've been a certain way and things like that. But obviously, personal development is moving forward and then creating the life that you want. So that's what I personally believe it's about. Some people might not agree, but um, the biggest I think the biggest shifts was when I decided to get help when I was 21, because I was in a very, very dark place. I was to the point where I just felt like everyone was against me. I felt like anything I ever did wasn't good enough. Like I could be the kindest person, but still people treat me like shit or something like that, you know? Sorry if I don't know if we were meant to swear on
You
here,
can swear. You can swear here. It's allowed.
but like, um, where was I going with it? So I I remember on my first counselling session, I turned up and I literally just barfed, as in like not actually sick, but as in like I couldn't stop talking. I'd held on to all this stuff that was inside me that I didn't even know. And one of the things, one of the hardest things was I remember writing a letter to my mum and to my dad. And the therapist said to me, she said, you can either just give this letter to them or you can actually confront them. You can talk to them. You can tell them how you're feeling, like, or how you felt and all of that. And so when I was younger, I was a very confident child at school. So, like in primary school, I
Mhm.
was the type of child that was in every group going. I remember playing on the stage when I was in year three with all the year sixes playing the recorder, and I did a solo piece and all of that kind of thing. And I had lots of friends, and I was just very confident, even though my home life might not have been so good. It was just I guess I loved school. I loved being with friends. It was my like escape, you know. So, um, but like, I feel like I'm losing track what I'm saying now. So that was confronting my mum and dad. That was probably one of the hardest things for me, and I did it. I decided I'm not just going to give them letters. I'm actually going to speak to them face to face.
Wow.
And I think, but when you grow up and you're scared of your mum, confronting her and telling her exactly how you feel is difficult. But I'm so glad I did it. And I think because of the journey that I was on, and my mum could see how much I was changing going through the counselling and all of that, it actually inspired her to go for counselling herself.
Wow.
So that was a massive thing. And then yeah, and then just obviously going on this personal development journey, I'm always talking to my parents. Like my relationship with my mum and dad is so lovely now. Like I can talk to them about everything, you know. So I think a lot of it as well is forgiving, like forgiveness,
Yeah.
but it's also forgiving not just them, but yourself as well.
Yeah.
Like um yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot I could talk about. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
incredible that you opening up about how you felt inspired even your own mother to look down her own, her own issues because it's generational. So what's passed down from parent to parent, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's so interesting. And there's something that comes to mind about my own sort of family history. And there's a saying that my dad used to say to me and my sisters, and it's like, hit them back harder when we were fighting, hit her back harder.
Yeah.
And then one day, this was recently actually, I was speaking to my nana, which is my dad's mum, and she was telling a story about her uncle saying to her as a child, hit her back harder. And I had shivers. I just thought, gosh, how long has that
Yes.
quote been in my family for?
Yeah.
And you just think something like that. There's that story, I don't know if you've heard it, of there's a lady who she's baking a fruit loaf or something, and she chops off the ends of this fruit loaf and she puts it in the oven. And she always wondered why do I chop off the ends? Her daughter asked her, Mum, why are you chopping off the ends of it? She, oh, that's what my mum did. So she goes to her mum, like, why did you chop off the ends of the fruit loaf? And she's like, well, we had a really small oven, so it wouldn't fit in unless I chopped the ends off. So she's carrying that on,
Yeah.
not even thinking, like, I don't need to chop the ends off this fruit loaf because my oven's bigger. I'm just doing it because that's what was done before me.
Mm. Yeah, it's so easy, isn't it, to follow what your parents have done and what their parents have done and things. But I think I think when there's enough pain, I think that's when you make your choices.
Mhm.
You think, yeah, no, I don't want this life. I don't enjoy my life being this like a certain way. Do you know what I mean? So because as well, like when you come from a challenging background where your mum isn't in control of her emotions and she takes them out on you, even if you're being good, it's kind of like if you're there and um if she's going through something, it's you that it's taken out on you, you know? And growing up, like I've always loved my mum, but what happens is if you're constantly taking it out on your child,
Mhm.
what happens is they stop loving themselves because they think it's them, and we take it personally as humans. Like, um, whereas the real truth is that we're born good enough.
Mhm.
Like, um, and a lot of the time, it's the stories that we give things.
Yeah.
Like to our experiences and things, and that's what I've been learning recently a lot, like a lot of kind of like, because I feel like the healing journey,
Mhm.
even though I'm in a fantastic place now, there's still things that I've been learning. And like, it's only recently that I'm like, I didn't realize how high my expectations were, how much I didn't like accept, and things like that is like having acceptance. Um, so like for example, my husband, he's not on the personal development journey as much as me. Like he is now, but as in like for a good, like we've been together 15 years, I
Oh,
think
wow.
it's 15 or 16 years. Um, and obviously when someone goes on a personal development journey, there's all of a sudden, if that person with you doesn't go on it with you, there's this massive gap.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm just going on to something else.
That's fine. Roll with it. We're flowing with this.
So yeah, so there's this massive gap, and it creates so much challenge. But I was saying to him yesterday, I said, I'm so grateful for the chat. Like I said, you've been one of my biggest challenges. And I said, I'm so glad. Like, I'm so glad because again, it's pushed me further and further to be able to like deal with things. And also I think it's been a recurring thing where it's like, actually, Emma, this isn't Mike. This is all about you. This is about your expectations and you not accepting him for who he is, and you wanting him to be the same person as you, and all of that. So, um, so yeah, so there's a lot of that discovery has gone on recently, and it has made me feel incredible.
Wow. That's a huge part of it, being in a relationship with somebody, because you can either grow together or grow apart. And, so I don't know what the statistics is for divorce in this country, but it's very
Yes,
high.
very high. Yeah, I've read a lot of books, and it's again, I think it's a date with destiny that I went to. And it just shows you that you're in different seasons. And if you can get through these harder seasons together, once you've got through that, that's when like you just, yeah, you become even closer. But I think a lot of people probably give up before they've even gone through the whole storm sometimes, or they've gone through the storm, but they're right at that end, and they give up at the last hurdle because well, I don't know any divorced people, but like from books I've read and stuff, that there are some books that have stated that some people do regret like giving up too soon or not
Mhm.
trying a bit harder, or and that kind of thing. Because but a lot of it comes down to, I think, taking responsibility for who you are and
Mhm.
what's going on for you, and not putting it on the other person. I think what's kept me and my husband together is we've both had things in common. Yes, we're very different. So I'm like, even before this podcast, I was like setting up an hour before. I'm like, I need every bit clean. I
Yeah.
need it all like fresh. I've put a nice picture up of my kids there. I've got my water ready. I'm very like that. And I just like, yeah, I just like to be organized. I like to be prepared. I think I was quite nervous coming on because I did say to you before, I was like, oh, what are we going to talk about? Like, can you give me some questions? Because I'm very much a let's prepare, let's overthink things.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas my husband's the opposite. So just before, he had like all his camera gear on our table because we've got one of those kitchens where, like, this is where I am now. So we've got like a sofa area, we've got a table, and then the kitchen bit. But he put all of his camera bits on it, and I'm like, Mike, this needs to move. I said, like, it's really affecting my well-being right now. And he just didn't get it. He was just like, what? Like, it's like, oh, do I have to? Like, it's on the table. And I was like, look, let me help you move it. But I said, I really do need it moved. And then I had a bit of a chat with him just to say, look, like, we've got to support each other. Like,
Yeah.
if we've got stuff going on, like, I need that space that's clean and clear, and to kind of get in the zone before I do something.
Yeah.
Um, where he's the opposite, where he is very last minute. He's looking for everything very last minute, and he's late for things, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just we're very different. So it's just trying to accept people for who they are,
Mhm.
work together to come up with a solution so that you're both winning, you know? So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about that collaboration, isn't it?
Mm.
You can collaborate together. I think with your partner, you like I've been with my husband now for 7 years, married for 3, but together for 7. And it's been a real journey of growth, I would say. We've both grew up together. We've both glowed up together,
Yeah.
but it's not been easy and it's not hearts and roses. Like from the outside in, people look and think, oh, wow, you've got a great relationship. But it really takes work.
Mm.
You have to show up for yourself, you have to show up for your partner, and you have to be vulnerable and raw and
Yeah.
real and get into that nitty gritty and talk about that painful stuff that
Oh,
no one
100%.
talks about. Yeah.
100%. And yeah, I think it's so easy to look at other people's lives and think they've got it all sussed out and it's okay for them because they've had it easy. Do you know what I mean? It's so easy. And like, everyone has done that in their life. But it's what I've learnt recently again is coming back to you, and it's saying, okay, like, good for them, like, be happy for them, or like, it's focusing back on yourself and saying, okay, what is it that I'm about? Like, what is it that I like, and who am I? Like, I think that's a massive thing because growing up through my life, I was so confused. I didn't like, I was one of those people that never knew what they wanted to do in
Mhm.
life. I remember saying to my dad, I was like, Dad, all I want is money. Like, I thought that money would buy happiness. Um, because me coming from back to my background again, like, me coming from a council estate, I had an auntie that she married this guy, and they had the opposite life to what I had. So
Mhm.
they were in a big house. They sent their children to private school. Um, and my auntie was the sweetest, kindest lady. And I used to go around there and visit. And I think that's where I got my curiosity from, because I was like, okay, so why is it that why is it they're like that? And why is it that I'm like this? Or
Yeah.
why, like, the kind of, like, why are people poor? Why are people rich? Why are people not in control of their emotions and horrible to their kids? Why are people really
Yes.
nice to their kids? And do you know what I mean? And loving and supportive. So I was very curious, and I feel like I've gone off track and not know where I'm going with this.
You're curious about relationships and
Yeah, I think
other
that's
styles of life.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's one of the that's something I've been really proud about for myself, and I think
Yeah.
it's good to get curious. It's like, even with the doctors, when they want to just put you on a prescription, or they want to put you on some medication, I'm always very like, I'm always wanting to find out why. Why is, like, what is the root causes of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And question things and things like that. Yeah, I feel like I've lost what I was saying, so yeah.
No, I don't think you've lost it at all. I think it's all related to personal development because when you do reflect on yourself and your own childhood and your own life experiences and then you can question the things around you, and you can take a step back from an observational perspective and look, oh, there's another way to do things.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
So when I used to go to my auntie's house, obviously I knew that everything was different there, but like I used to actually go to the private school with them to go and pick up my niece and nephew because they were younger than me. And um, so I got to see a different life there. And then we would go then round to their friend's house after school, and their houses were literally like you would drive in and it was like a field. It was like massive. And they had swimming pools and they had all these amazing things. And as a council kid, this is like, whoa, like, whoa, what, like, this is incredible. And I just, yeah, I just got so curious and just wanted to more, find out more about like, yeah, why things are different, you know?
yeah,
Why, what makes someone successful? What makes someone not successful? Those kind of things. And I think that's where the whole personal development stuff come in as well. Like I've just, yeah, I love this stuff.
yeah.
Absolutely love it.
What do you think it takes for someone to be successful? Like, what did it take for you to go from being raised in a council house to now you have a very successful business, you're still doing personal development and still working on yourself?
I think what it takes is making a choice. I think that choice only normally comes when you're in so much pain. Or the other one is you're moving towards something that's really pleasurable. But a lot of the time it's the pain, I think, because then it ingrains in you. Because at that point where you just feel like rock bottom, that's when you say, okay, I can give up right now. I can end my life. I can do all those things, or I can choose to live. I'm going to find another way of being. The old way hasn't been working, and I'm going to do what it takes to transform and change and all of that. And a lot of the time, you don't know how. Like
Yeah.
when you know it, it's in your body.
Mhm.
Like I I have been consistent with how I felt for seven. So my daughter, yeah, my daughter's seven, nearly eight. So yeah, I'd say about 7 years. I've been consistent with I'm here to transform, and I'm going to do what it takes and keep pushing myself, and I'm never giving up. So, like, it's in you, and but yeah, that comes from a decision. I would say
Yes.
it takes courage,
Yeah.
and courage is like everyone feels fear, and I think it's just acknowledging that fear and saying, okay, I'm feeling really fearful right now, but I'm still going to do it. And I tell you, there's a book actually that really helped me, and it was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
I've heard of this book and I
Yeah.
have not read it yet.
Yeah. So that was a really
Yeah.
fantastic one. I've actually got a massive library upstairs of so many books. So at some point, I will start sharing my stuff out.
Yeah,
Like
you
once I've
should.
got my mindset business up and running, I'm gonna start showing me because for such a long time, I've not shown me, and I've had lots of blocks. So
Mhm.
I've been really like doing a lot of work behind the scenes on myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm ready now to, yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna give you a clap.
start impacting the world. Woo!
That is
Yeah.
super exciting. What's next on the cards then? So you're talking about NLP. Can you
Yeah.
share with our listeners what is that? What does it mean?
Okay, so I'll do the short version. So NLP, so if I break it down, so you've got neuro-linguistic programming. So the neuro is your mind, and then the linguistic part is the language that you use. And then so with the mind, it's kind of like what how your mind works basically, and how you absorb things and why you are the way you are type stuff. And then yeah, language is the second part, and then the programming is basically um, the mind and language put together to create the behaviors and the way you communicate with the world and the way you communicate with yourself. Um, Another way to describe NLP is basically it's the art and science of being your personal best.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. What does it involve then? Is it kind of like, I don't know, is it like hypnotherapy or like counseling? Like what kind of, does it involve certain techniques?
Yeah, so it's yeah, it's definitely like different techniques. So basically, people that I will be coaching, they'll come to me with their problems. Like I'll probably do like a kind of like a free call where I get to spend some time listening to what's going on for them, make sure we're right for each other, to work with each other. And then yeah, a lot of it will be around to do with basically like values, so understanding about themselves and who they are again and what they want in life, and doing goals and things like that. And basically I'll be using techniques. So say for example they have a block. So say they really want to do something, and they know they want to do it, but they just can't get there. There's just something that keeps pulling them back all the time. Basically, I'm that person that's going to be able to help you get through to the next bit, you know. So it's looking at where you are, where you want to go, and then getting like helping you with that gap. And I think as well, like it's also just being a real support to someone, because I think that's another thing actually I really wanted to mention is
Yeah.
support. Because if you don't have anyone around you that is on the same journey or isn't supportive, it's really difficult to make those changes. Like, for example, if it wasn't for you, Emily, reaching out to me to say, Emma, let's get on a podcast, I probably wouldn't have started my podcast for a very long time, you know? So I think by having this, it's proving, okay, so I can do it. Like, I didn't die. Um, and, uh, um, and and so then it just gives you that push, and it's every time you kind of work on yourself and do those little things um that align with your goals, that you're making progress, it builds yourself up, it builds your self-esteem. And yeah.
Yeah, it's baby steps. I feel like I can really relate to your journey. For myself, I had massive procrastination and imposter syndrome issues for years,
Mm,
years.
mm.
Before children, I was living my best life. I was living the dream, and I still have goals for the future. And then having children completely floored me. I became obsessed with my kids and completely lost myself in
100%.
motherhood.
It
Can you
happens to
relate to this? Yeah.
100%. Like, I think every mum goes through that. Like, I think having your first child, you just nothing can prepare you for it.
Mhm,
It is life changing. And for me, like, I absolutely love my kids. I'm one of those parents that I think because I've done so much on myself, I
mhm.
love my kids so much. I'm not one of those mums that are very like, "Oh, I can't stand my kids. They're the worst." Do you know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
understand where they're coming from, because they're obviously not probably looking after themselves. You know what I
Yes,
mean? So,
completely.
um, but like yeah, I adore my kids, and boundaries is a massive thing for me. So I make sure that as soon as I'm there for pickup from school, my attention goes to them
Yes.
until they're in bed, you know? So I have all the day to myself to do what I need to do. I get up early as well to do the things that I
Yeah.
need to do.
What time do you wake up?
So currently it's swaying.
Oh.
It's swaying. So I know that's not actually a good thing. Um, so this morning I woke up at 6,
Mhm.
but before that it was around 7. I think it's a winter thing, because
Yes.
but then saying that, I don't know, I think that's an excuse, because I used to wake up at 5:30
Come
every
on, Emma.
half 5 every day. So this is another thing. Like, see, I feel like I've
Yeah.
got loads to talk about, but like, so I've gone off whatever we was talking about. So in terms of morning routines,
Mhm.
my morning routine used to be absolutely massive. Like so much, like 5:30 till 7, I would fit in so much.
Mhm.
And I think it's because there's so much information out there,
Yeah.
and you feel like, okay, I've got to do it all. Like, and but by the end of it, I remember doing it all. I'd feel amazing, but then in the afternoon, I needed a nap. I was just so shattered.
Yeah.
And So what I've learned now is that I've picked certain things that I feel like bring out the best in me, and I'm
Mhm.
building the habits to keep that going.
Yeah.
And then you can always add on more later down the line, but it doesn't need to be everything. It doesn't need to be everything that everyone's doing, you know? So,
Exactly.
um, so yes, that's,
I think there's a lot of information out there
yeah.
in regards to morning routines and like, oh, you have to do this and tick it all off. But half the people talking about that, do they have children?
Mm,
Is it relatable? Like, there's a few people who are online, like, get outside and do your grounding, wear the red light glasses, and like, realistically, if you're a mum with kids, your kids are going to wake up, and I guarantee they'll be sick at some point. Your parents will get older, and you need to look after them.
mm,
There is no perfect situation or routine.
no.
It
And I,
changes.
and I think as well, like if I try and go back, because it's easy for me to say like, oh yeah, this is what I do now, this is what I do. Like,
Mhm.
but I want to try and go back to the old me and how because I don't know what your listeners, where they are in their life, like the stages of their life and stuff, and whether they got issues going on or whether they're actually really good. Do you know what I mean? But I just want to kind of say that back when I was at like kind of my lowest points, um, when because I actually had postnatal depression with Olivia, and then I had it with Jack. I had it a
Mhm.
lot more with Jack because I'd had a miscarriage like in between them.
Yeah.
So throughout my pregnancy with Jack, every time I went to the toilet, I was constantly looking for blood. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't relax, and um I just, yeah, developed this anxiety. I then developed the depression after, because obviously mum guilt when you go from one
Mhm.
to two children. I think we all that happens a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, but going back to like when my kids were small, because it is hard when they're small. And I just remember like I would do such small steps that it'd feel like I had won my day. So for example, it might be, say I didn't want to get out of bed, it'll be like, okay, I'm going to get out of bed
Mhm.
and I'm going to, I don't know, maybe do my makeup, or I might get out of bed and I might just, like, even if you felt that's too hard, because
Mhm.
sometimes I don't do my makeup, like on school run. Um, but anyway, like I will go and have a shower, like, because I think when you're in that really low place, you
Yeah.
stop taking care of yourself. But just setting those goals of today, I'm going to get out of bed, I'm going to have a shower, and I've won my day. And that
That's
is
it.
it. Like,
Yeah.
literally, that is it. Um,
Yeah.
it's making it so small that it's achievable, because
Mhm.
if you set your goals too high, or you set too many, you're constantly going to feel like you're not going anywhere, and it's going to eat into your self-esteem. Like you're going to feel shit, basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's another thing. Self-esteem. I had very low self-esteem, very low self-esteem for a long time. Um, but it's just, again, it's pushing yourself out of your comfort zone that builds that self-esteem. It's doing,
Yeah.
setting little goals and things like that. But I think the biggest thing is definitely having clarity on who you are, what
Mhm.
you and what you like. And because I think when you have a tough upbringing, you feel like you need to be a certain way to protect yourself all the
Mhm.
time. So like I felt like I had to be a good girl. I had to be quiet. I had to not be a certain way around my mum to protect myself. Um, when it came to like obviously through school, I have good memories of school, but like secondary school, I have horrible memories,
Mhm.
because I think at that point when I started secondary school, I lost myself because I was told by so many people, don't be yourself, like fit in, keep your head down because it's going to be flushed down the toilet if you don't. Do you know what I mean? That kind of scare stories for a year seven, like it's horrible. Um, and I also went to a school that wasn't the where I didn't fit in.
Mhm.
I was very much a child that loved to learn. I loved to. Um, I just wanted more in life, and a lot of people around me didn't. And so I stood out, and it just, yeah, I obviously got bullied, things like that. So, and then going to going through jobs. I went through multiple jobs, like so many jobs. Again, I just got really good at just being whoever I was with, it was being whoever I thought they needed me to be. And I just wasn't myself. It was exhausting. So yeah, so 100%, like I think number one is just really take a look at yourself and find and get the help and do the work and basically look at your values, look at who you are, what is it with the goals and things like that that you want. So yeah, and it's achievable for anyone. Like if it's achievable for me, like for me to have got this far with the background that I had, anyone can do it.
Yeah, that's true. I think we get stuck in our own self-limiting beliefs about ourselves and comparing ourselves to other people's journey when those people are on a completely different point to what we're at currently.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
definitely.
I
So
think
yeah,
it's a tricky thing, isn't it, to kind of break out of that.
yeah, it is. And I think as well, like again, this journey that I've been on, it's very like learning to love myself because that's a massive thing. Like not criticizing yourself, all those things. Yeah, there's a lot to it, and
Yeah.
it's not a walk in the park. But I think if you make that choice and you do want more for yourself, you do want more for your kids and all of that thing, and you don't want to be like the people that you're around, like, and you want to break free, then do it. Like if you've got that calling within you, like 100%, it's worth it.
I agree with that. I think it is a calling and it's an inner knowing, isn't it, that there's something more for you out there.
Mhm.
If something doesn't feel right in your current situation, you can absolutely change it.
Yeah,
You can change yourself and grow and learn. And I think you never get to a point where I'm incapable of learning now.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, like, once you step outside your comfort zone and you grow, like, there's always another level for you to grow. Like, it's never gonna stop, like, unless you choose to. But yeah,
Yeah. I want to go back to actually you saying about you experienced a miscarriage because I experienced also to myself after I had my second baby, and I think this is a topic that not many women speak about, but so many women experience, and it is utterly devastating.
yeah, yeah, it is. Um, yeah, I don't really know what to say on it. Like, it's that feeling, isn't it? It's like when you want something so much and you've got it, and then it's literally just taken away from you. Like, that is that's heartbreaking, and it's grief, and it's yeah, it feels like a soul like yeah, it's like soul crushing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think as well, like for women, it's so different to how men react as well. Like
Yeah.
I remember feeling like it was just so painful. Like I remember spending days crying on the sofa and just
Yeah.
not wanting to get dressed and just going through that. And I remember looking at my husband, I'm like, why are you not sad? Like, and he's
Yeah.
like, I am sad. But he's not, do you know, in they just don't show it. And he just threw himself into work, you know,
Yeah.
and, and I just didn't get it back then. But um, luckily at the time I did have one mum friend that well I had a few mum friends, but as in this one mum friend, she had been through it herself and she actually came round, she baked me some cakes,
Oh.
me some flowers, and that was yeah, that is so nice because a
Yeah.
lot of the time you don't want to open up to people and you want to keep it in and because you don't want to bother people, you know.
Yeah.
Mm. And the biggest takeaway from it all is 100% opening up and telling people because the more you talk about it, the more you can heal. All the
Yeah.
time you hold on to it, you, it's going to take ages. But like for me, like I waited 6 months until we tried for Jack. And then
Mhm.
I fell pregnant with him. But I didn't feel ready because I know some people they jump straight into trying again.
Yeah.
But I just feel like when you go through such a hard thing, it's good to have time to process it all.
Yeah.
Definitely. Um,
Yeah.
because it is easy to jump into something quickly and not have that time to process, you know? So, um, but yeah, I'm just trying to think back. So, um, I think I had some counseling back then as well, some CBT, like, 'cause it's
Mhm.
online therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
I found that really helpful. I found just having someone just to chat to when you feel
Mhm.
so alone, like at those times or whatever, and um, you just and you know, when you just didn't sometimes you don't want to be so vulnerable with people, do you? Like you tell
Yeah.
you don't want to be completely vulnerable, but like with a counselor like online, you can just be yourself, can't you? You can just literally
Yeah.
splurt it all out. But that really helps having help. So
I think that's really important to have that support and to talk about it and reach out. I found that that definitely helped me
yeah,
because, like yourself, my husband just threw himself into work and he did express he was sad, but it was just express it in a different way to me. And I spent a few days in bed crying, and you have to go through that. You have to grieve and let it out, and then move with it. I
yeah,
think grief is a very tricky and personal topic, but you have to learn to move with that because you can't be wallowing for the rest of your life, especially for both of us. You know, we've got other children and maybe a business, you know, you've got a husband. You have to live with the pain and know that you're not on your own. I think that's an important thing.
yeah, definitely. And I think as well, like when I had Jack as well, like so then obviously I had Olivia was 2.5, Jack was obviously a baby, and then we had lockdown as well. So he was I think he was 5 weeks old. We was on holiday and then we heard about lockdown.
Gosh.
And we had to go back home and um yeah, my husband literally he was in at the time he wasn't um like in the weddings like full time. He was in another job. And basically they worked with hospitals and like for respiratory things. So they were so busy, like
Mhm.
mentally busy that they needed people to do extra time.
Mhm.
So he threw himself into work.
Yeah.
I was very, very alone in lockdown. So I remember it being really difficult. So yeah, I think that obviously kind of contributed to the whole postnatal depression and stuff. But
Mm.
that was when we actually got so at that point I felt like my relationship, like I'd broken up with my husband with my relationship at that point because he wasn't there for me through the pregnancy with Jack's pregnancy.
Mhm.
Um because he was just I don't know what was going on for him, but like he was just into work. He was completely into work and putting
Yeah.
that as a number one. Um but anyway, so yeah, I felt very alone when I had both of them together, my kids. But I remember getting to that point as well, where it was like, okay, it's my responsibility to change this. Like, I need to find ways to fix whatever's going on.
Mhm.
That's when I again reached out for help. And this is a bit of a common theme, isn't it? Reach out for help, speak to
Yeah.
and I ended up having a support worker, like a family support worker lady. Um,
Mhm.
because as well, what helped with that is that my husband would sit with me and
Mhm.
then we could discuss everything together. We could discuss how we're raising our children.
Yeah.
We're trying to build our relationship again or and understand and do you know what I mean? All those things
Mhm.
that I think it's so easy to feel embarrassed or ashamed or you don't want to tell people that you need help. Like for some people it's really difficult to ask for help. And but I think it's the only way you're going to move forward. It
Mhm.
like you can't just do it by yourself. You've got to have help and the support around you and yeah, you got nothing to lose.
Exactly, exactly. Be brave, take the step, and reach out for help. That is a really important message to anyone out there. Don't be don't be so independent, so strong, you know, help is help.
Mm. Yes. Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up and end with some quick fire
Okay.
questions. So I'll just ask these super quick. So do you have any rituals that you do daily?
Yes, I do. I have my morning routine, and I also have a nighttime routine. Do you want me to break those down?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay, so my I feel like the nighttime routine is the most important one. I feel like that has the biggest impact. So at 9 o'clock, I will put my phone into another area so it doesn't come into my bedroom. And it goes onto like a silent mode, and I basically don't touch my phone after 9 o'clock. I go into my room, I do journaling, so I get everything that's on my mind onto paper. I will also go through what I'm grateful for, because gratitude has been a life changer for me. Having gratitude, like 100% do it. Um, but it takes practice. It takes, like, at first it might feel hard, but you keep doing it, even find an accountability partner to do it with. So me and
Yes.
my friend, we did it to each other every single day. And now we don't do it anymore to each other because it's ingrained in us. Like, we just think about it all the time. Like, it just reframes your mind. But anyway, so yeah, I write down gratitudes, and then I choose one of my amazing personal development books from my big library, and I literally read until I fall asleep, basically. Like, I get to that point where I'm like, I'm so tired, down it goes. Oh, I spray some nice pillow spray as well. I love
Oh,
so
I love a good scent. Is it like lavender or something?
yeah, something like that. And yeah, so I love my nighttime routine. So it's not too complicated. Like, it's just those things.
Yeah.
And then morning routine is so I've got a very, very, very long morning routine, like as in I used to. It's still on my wall for when I want to go back to it. But at the moment, I'm not doing the whole list. But my current one is I'll get up, I high five myself in the mirror because I love Mel Robbins and it's a genius thing.
Love that.
My husband looks at me like, "You're such a weirdo." So yeah, I do that. I again just kind of like get excited for my day. Sometimes I might do a meditation. I will sometimes write down things. If I feel like I've still got stuff in my mind, I'll write down things. And my biggest thing that has been like medicine is dance. Literally, I turn the music on, kids are still asleep, husband's still asleep, and I turn the music on and I literally just dance and get ready and I feel good. And then because I've filled my cup up, it's like time to wake the kids up at say 7, half 7,
Yeah.
and then it's like I'm in such a good mood.
Oh,
Like,
you're on
people
fire.
people like basically I'm yeah, like I was gonna say I'm the opposite to my husband. Like, he's very like flat. Probably like a lot of people are just like, "Oh, it's the morning, I've gotta get up." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's go." Like, "Come on, kids." Like, I'm just really happy and joyful, and people probably would hate being in the room with me in the morning, but yeah, that's me.
I love that so much. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Next one. Describe what wellness means to you.
Oh, okay, so wellness, I would say, is taking care of yourself. It's finding ways to be at peace and just loving yourself. Basically all self things like self-esteem and self-love and self-acceptance, and I feel like that's all well-being to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a whole package, isn't it?
Yep.
What message would you like to send to our listeners?
Okay. I've got a lot, but I'm just going to try and keep it down to one or two. Okay. Um, I want everyone to know that it really doesn't matter where you've come from and what you've been through. We, as humans, can create the life that we want. And it all is just down to a choice and getting that ingrained in your body. And a lot of the time, it comes when you're in a really painful place, or some people might be quite lucky and they'll just be like, yeah, I've decided I'm going to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But for me, it came from a painful place. And um, I think be courageous and just go for things, and a lot of it as well is like be around the right people, because if you can be around like for some people it's hard to make new friends, it's hard to break out of some of these cycles the groups that they're in, you know? So it's about, like, I get a lot of my things from the personal development industry, like reading books and listening to podcasts and going to live events and networking and all of those things. Like, it doesn't mean, right, ditch everyone you know, go
Yeah.
find a new tribe, because it's not that easy. And you don't really want to ditch your old people. Like, you'd only want to ditch them if they're really bringing you down and you have no, what's the word? They give you no purpose.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, if someone's draining your energy so much, you want to limit your time with them, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, and just be around people that are going to make you feel good and bring you up, you know?
That's so important, surrounding yourself with people who bring you up, but also limiting that time with those people who are maybe dragging you down, because some of those people can be family as well, and obviously you love your family and you want to spend time with them, so it can be tricky. So last one, how can our listeners connect with you?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram on Emma Collier Photography. I'll probably give you the links.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the
Yeah.
show notes below.
So yeah, so if you're getting married, you can come to me. Um, but I also do family photography as well, and so like maternity, babies, all of that kind of thing. I can do commercial. To be honest, I can do any kind of photography really. So yeah, so photography, videography. Me and my husband, we are a team. We do a package together. If you're getting married, if you're looking more for kind of coaching or like support with life
Mhm.
basically, then I am going to be having my mindset coaching business set up shortly. I do actually have a page already. It was a page that I set up through lockdown, and it was my page, it was my personal journey to get myself out of um, postnatal depression and to help other people. So that was that was a major thing for me. And the reason I've decided I'm going to expand on that account is because it has a lot of meaning to me, and
Mm.
so proud of myself for doing that, stepping out,
Yeah.
that I just want to build on that. So yeah, so that is actually, I've changed it a few times. It used to be Self-Love Mother, but it's not
Oh.
anymore. It's actually I've just changed it to hold on.
Let's have a quick
Yeah,
check.
it's so true. Hold on, let me find it.
And for all our listeners currently listening now, I will link all of Emma's accounts down in the show notes below, and any updated links as well. So you can reach out to her for NLP or photography.
Yeah, so it's mindset coach for mums.
Amazing. I love
Yeah.
that. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Emma, for coming on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's actually, I've really enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. And this is the thing, like, even though things might feel scary, a lot of the time it's the lead up is when it's scary. But once you're doing it and once you're on, then yeah, it's great.
You're on a roll then.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, for all our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to tune in next week for the next one.